I hope that you can hear me. I'm doing a live reading and I'm feeling quite liberated, and I wanted to one of you requested a live share. As far as like, it's been a while, I don't go live as much. I do go live for my Patreon community, and there was a time back in 2016, 17, 18, 19, even right up until 2020 when I was going live a lot. Um, so I want to talk about abusive dynamics within a patriarchal structure and the way it affects our nervous system and our emotions when we're being abused. And how things can appear really nice on the surface. And then again, if you're the one being abused, how it quickly turns. And often is the case, I would say, that for a lot of us who have been in these dynamics, it requires us to see something, to see and like catch the lie, or really catch them doing something that they said they wouldn't do, um or just straight up catching out the lie. And how, if you've been in a long-standing abusive dynamic, and this is also coming from a place of self-responsibility where we can own our part in something once we see clearly how the abuse works. And how often is the case, abusers will have a huge group of people around them, um, and very much live in denial of their own behavior, and surround themselves with people who support their identity that they work really hard to um, attach to and to protect themselves from. Or protect themselves within that kind of identity that they create. But when you get closer to them, or when you're trying to actually build um, a reciprocal relationship or an equal relationship, it eventually falls apart because from the patriarchal structure side of things, abusers need to stay in control. They need to dominate. They need to dominate the narrative, and they need to dominate you. I'm aware that this is a lot to do with indoctrination under the patriarchy and the long-standing generational abuse that has gone on for centuries, and how, as a collective, we are still outworking a lot of these energies. And I have to say, like, once you see and you can't unsee, it's um it's liberating. Because I think for a lot of us who are deeply emotional and caring and giving and want to love and support, um, it's there's self-responsibility, there's honesty, but something doesn't feel right. Something kind of perpetually doesn't feel right, or doesn't, you're not quite sure what the deal is. And then when you finally catch them in the lie, or you see it at work, it's like you can't unsee it. But then for the empath, or for the emotionally caring one, it's like, aha, that's why I never really felt safe with that person. That's why my nervous system could never settle. Because abusers will lie in ways to kind of get their self gratification, or get their fix, right? Get some kind of validation from all these different people that they surround themselves with, but never honor the more intimate connections, right? Because of the fear that abusers would more deeply harbor within, the shame, the fear, the grief, the mommy and the daddy issues that they're in denial that they have. Because often I think people on a certain level of their journey, um, somehow these people are kind of void of emotional, or sorry, they're void of like a childhood wounding, that their childhood was perfect, but everyone else has trauma. And yet what's interesting is that um they behave in ways that are traumatizing. They behave in ways that are very hurtful. But they're not able to own their own behavior. They're not able, so their behavior is always justified. Um, and you're trying to get the bottom of it, but they gaslight you, or um they do things kind of out in the public to deny your existence, to shame you, um and then paint it. And I live in the UK, and in the UK they have a really the British stiff upper lip, and they're very emotionally repressed. And um the class system and the hierarchical structure here is very rooted, very anchored. So often you'll see people with certain amounts of power doing everything they can on an egoic level to maintain that power and control. And so they have lots of people around them, but actually, like, all those people are sort of at a distance, at an arm's length. They don't really get any deeper insight. And so, if you are the lucky empath who gets chosen, your nervous system will never quite settle. And eventually, if you're really committed to love and truth and understanding, eventually you'll understand why. And that will be the breaking point. That will be the moment you're able to break free. Hello, everybody. Happy to be here. Yeah, I am Canadian originally. I think I got this from my sister, hand-me-downs. Okay, so the brand is All to Love, and I propagate sustainability, spirituality, and freedom. So um, for well over a decade, almost 15 years or more, really, I've been buying only secondhand stuff. Don't watch mainstream media, haven't done for 15 plus years. And I have a series of courses about that. And I'm dominantly vegan. I'm not a nutritionist. I'm not somebody saying everybody has to be a vegan. But I've been veggie and vegan since I was about 12 years old. And there's a lot of industrial stuff behind the scenes that my heart just doesn't quite align with. I do believe that if you're somebody who's going to choose to eat meat, then you should be fully aware of the slaughter, and have reverence for the killing of the animal. If you're going to eat it, I get it. Some people, I think they might need it, So yeah, I used to do lives a lot, as I was heading into a lot of shadow work. And I can sense in the here now, I have a lot of Capricorn placements, with this Capricorn new moon and the previous Cancer full moon. Um, there was like a huge shift and breaking point as far as clarity around a dynamic that's been going on for years. And I'm finally breaking free from that dynamic. So I'm really, really grateful. And like, regardless, still very appreciative of the learning. I can see my part in it. I can see how um when I first met this person, I was in a very, very vulnerable position. And I also noticed that they tend to like women who are vulnerable, and they kind of target those types of women. And as I've continued to empower myself and endeavor to find greater equanimity and clarity, it's just been quite a wild ride. Um, and it's really nice to get to the point to wish the person well, but understand that I can't be responsible for support, like, for, especially if they're gonna lie and cheat and all that stuff. It's like, I don't. I can't help them. You know, like if they're because if you catch somebody lying to you, it becomes pretty clear that they lie to themselves and that they're probably in denial of some deeper wounding going on. And yeah, you know, what can any of us do? If somebody doesn't want to be honest with themselves, it's not likely they're going to be honest with you. And that's mental emotional responsibility, being honest with ourselves, but what we're thinking and feeling about people. Um, and yeah, and straight up, you know, in more equanimous relationships, if you request something, if you ask them not to, you know, be doing certain things, and then you realize they're just doing it anyway, it's very hurtful. And then that's the classic thing with abuse. When you're hurt because of their behavior, somehow it's about you and your trauma or something like that. But if you behave in a certain way, it's on you. So there's like an emotional double standard, right? Yes, for sure. Self is first and safety has to be very important. That's right. And that's so clear to me that like people can put on a facade, a very believable one, but your body doesn't feel safe. And then it's a bit confusing until it's not, until you see like, oh, they do lie. Oh, they're they don't care about your feelings at all. They only care about um getting their little needs met. And you know, for someone that really wants to can keep healing and you know, bring justice to the world and give as much as possible, you can't really be with people who are addicted to ego and addicted to power and wanting to maintain these illusions of control. And certainly people who want to dominate environments through their facade, right? So, and seeing the layers, like I think that's the beauty of self-reflection and being able to see how and why and then the value of it. But if you're really doing earnest um shadow work, trust that eventually you will figure it out. You will figure it out, and by the time it's like being released, you'll have the power to firmly release it. And that's where I can see that I was still attached, I was still hoping, I was still believing in the potential, I was still really thinking maybe it will work this time because their behavior shifted a bit. But again, it's only because in that moment they needed something from you, and then as soon as you trigger their wounding, they revert back into patterns where they will just lie and do anything for their own, again, self gratification. And then if you really look at people's lives, you can usually pick and point like certain things, like um, yeah, just behavioral patterns um, it's the harsh reality, I think, of being really intuitive is like sussing some of the more nefarious and or insidious ways that humans behave within little group dynamics. Again, within this systemic structure where there's just abuse written in the code kind of thing. So, power to the people. I know there's a lot of volatility and there's a lot of extremism and there's a lot of intensity going around. And yeah, I pray for more of humanity to awaken to these abuses, more of humanity to be able to stand in their power and their integrity in love, you know, because the truth of our power is anchored in love, not fear. The truth of our power is really anchored in unity and being able to share of ourselves, right? Not um not just sort of maintain these sort of status quo roles and positions, right? And so we can more and more see people who have through ancestry, through whatever, been able to achieve a certain amount of power, that they're more than likely anchored in some of these patriarchal structures of domination and control, versus the people who are regenerating themselves, healing through the ancestry, and birthing anew via their truth. right? And the deeper you go within that emotional gate, the more you can see the layers and how it's woven into sort of every structure and every institution of our society, and often even within things like marriage and um wealth, like a lot of via empirical and kind of colonialism structure of the past, a lot of generational wealth is sort of blood money, right? That generational wealth comes from colonialism, comes from enslavement, it comes from, and so, and of course, people with that power are not necessarily going to want to give it up very easily because it serves their ego, it serves their superiority complex. Whereas more and more people waking up to the nefariousness of these structures are going to endeavor to break free and empower themselves. But I must say, wowzers, like the ego and then true, like our own survival mechanism can make us think we have to like abide by it. But I really feel that shifting of the collective and more of us being granted permission to break free and empower ourselves. Yeah, I'm in that, well, in a similar-ish energy too. Well, and I think once you realize you're being manipulated or abused and you really see it clearly, there's a little bit of sense of like there's no point, because if that person's consciously choosing to lie to you and deceive you and you catch it out firmly and they've been manipulating you all along, it's highly unlikely that if you try to address the lie or try to address, they'll gaslight you, right? They'll pretend like nothing. So it's the freedom of knowing the difference and going, "Oh, that's part of your character at this point, and I don't really want that energy in my life, and I don't because it's all an illusion. It's not love, it's not genuine support. Um it's abuse. It's mental emotional abuse. It's somebody trying to pretend they're this way and then behind your back behaving however they want, even if they know it's going to hurt you, right? And then they'll often do things to further what's the word, kind of ostracize you or expel you or abandon you or whatever. But it can often be laced in really nice words. So like once you see what you see and can't unsee it, that's where you'll often even have the courage to just completely walk away. And for me, I'm Capricorn, it's like, and I have Mars in Libra. So like I'm somebody who will observe patterns until I kind of see the pattern, suss the pattern. And if I know that person doesn't want to work on that pattern, because shadow work is deep and profound, and you just can't force people to want to be honest with themselves. And if they can't be honest with themselves, there's no chance that they're going to be honest with you. And then the root of that is that they don't care about other people's feelings. They care about maintaining the illusion of control. They care about maintaining the their power, right? The power via manipulation, via coercion, via deception, you know, and trusting that they tend to have certain amounts of power within communities or and of course they use that and they it would appear like they have a lot to offer, but that's not actually on offer. um as far as like the real reality, they'll say any number of things and then backtrack it. So anywho, my loves, and anyway, I'm responding to Justin, and I said I didn't tell them. I just took it in and acknowledged it. Yeah, and then in the truth of acknowledging it, often we'll have the power to just walk away. Wish them well, walk away, kind of thing. How long have you lived in Britain? You have picked up their accent quite a bit. Oh, interesting. See, when I'm here or when I'm working and whatnot, people in the UK are like, "Oh, where are you from?" And I'm like, "I'm Canadian." But when I go back to Canada, Canadians are like, "Where are you from?" And like, so yes, I've been in the UK since 2003. And I was guided here after having some spiritual awakenings Um, yeah, I had spiritual awakenings. I come to the UK, and like there's a part of my own awakening process where like this world has been so painful energetically that it was like, please just guide me to make the world a better place. And I have my own visions of things I'd like to create. I have this beautiful brand, all to love, and it's been such a profound journey. It's been such a profound journey, and I'm sure there's like some shifting point now where it's like, okay, now I can finally move on, because I've been sort of entangled in this dynamic that in the end I recognize why I never felt truly safe, why I never felt truly relaxed is um this person is a controller, a dominator. They're very egotistical, and having this is where compassion is also liberating. It's wounding. It's somebody that has also their own deep trauma from childhood, via systemic abuse and things like that inhibit their emotional depth. And instead of being responsible, they're victimized by other people's emotions, right? Um they're never the problem. It's always so and so, right? And so it's like, oh, and which is kind of real, right? Like um I could go, oh, they're a horrible, horrible person. It's not, it's nuanced. Um, it's a nuanced energy, right? Because people have emotional wounding. Being endeavoring the shadow and being fully responsible mentally, emotionally requires a fair bit of work, meditation, clarity, working through our traumas and all that kind of stuff. And for some people, especially if they're fully met, if their needs are met, and if they're financially secure and all that kind of stuff through their ancestry and through their position in society, they don't have to be responsible. They can stay in that more superficial layer of just blaming other people for how they feel, for what they're going through, right? And that's everyone's on their journey, right? And so I tend to like, having been through this, like, especially like leaving my native country, being a lone traveler, always kind of being, I have like a lot of 12th house placements, including Neptune. So, like, I've always kind of been able to zoom out and observe groupthink and observe dynamics within society. And, um, gosh, it's like we're all oppressed and yet we're all powerful. And, um, you know, certainly, like, you think of that red pill and the kind of loneliness epidemic and how that's anchored in patriarchal structure, and how men are even more severely traumatized to not feel their emotion and just be a man and just be powerful, and women are kind of taking the brunt of that. And yet white women were very, very privileged, and we need to be kind of standing up for everybody else, because it's not necessarily like powerful white men are going to be doing that. So there's a lot of charge, I think, in more and more women that have the ability to break free from these emotionally burdensome, financially burdensome, and or potentially physically abusive dynamics, to empower themselves. And I really believe, like, when you're on the path in earnest, when you're opening your heart, when you're healing your heart, when you just want to make the world a better place, you will be guided. It's not necessarily going to be easy, but life here on earth, I don't think, is necessarily easy. But that's why we have to get to know ourselves well enough to live that life, to do the things that center us, to do the things that help us hone our psychic awarenesses, right? Because the more astrology, the more tarot, the more of these esoteric teachings come through, the more people are going to want their sovereignty and want their power, not to dominate other people, but to share the resources of the planets that have been ripped away from us. And that the powers that be continue to usurp the power of the people by extracting the resources and keeping people enslaved. We're in radical times. The global arena it's almost like it's going to continue to kind of kick off and open up, and we will see the abuses. We will see the abuses on all the levels within our local community, within the, the macro, the micro, within the broader, etc. And saying, no, no, you're not going to treat me like that. No, I deserve better. And when you love who you are, because you've done the work to make your own life, and to have the intention to support the people you love truly, mentally, emotionally, physically, you will be shown the way. You will be guided on your journey. And that looks different for everybody. There's no one right way, but we all are connected in the heart. And that's that biofeedback resonance field. That's the aspect of unpacking the trigger point of love, right, on a romantic level, and understanding patterns, right? Looking at patterns rather than potential, seeing the way someone actually behaves rather than what they say. Actions speak louder than words, right? And my breakthrough just happened 2 days ago, where I was told one thing, and then my little spidey senses were like, interesting, and I caught them acting out. And so I and it was that moment that I was like, oh my God, they're never going to be honest with me. They're never going to. But this time round, because this has been an on and off again dynamic, this time round, I'm seeing it. So I went into this final dynamic with greater clarity, greater grounding, and I was really able to observe um, the abuse, basically, and then finally catching them misdirecting me. They told me to go one way, and then I kind of had a bit of a suspicion, so I went to find them, and they were blatantly just doing something I may ask them not to do, because it would hurt my feelings. And so the fact that they went out of their way to tell me to go do one thing, but then they were actually giving me the impression that they were doing this, but then they were actually doing the thing that I asked them not to do, I'm like, okay. As in this, and I was getting, weirdly, I was getting this intuitive hit around, this is dangerous, like this person is dangerous. And I mean dangerous on a nervous system level, dangerous on a heart center level, right? Where my body will never feel safe because they're not emotionally safe. They will gaslight you. They will manipulate you. They will lie to you to get their needs met and deny your needs and deny your requests. And then I can own that, because that links to my own childhood wounding of, I don't exist. My only existence is to serve. The only way to get love is to be a good person and to serve the other. And so unpacking all of that and realizing, no way, hold on, I deserve to exist, and I deserve to be met, and I deserve for somebody to be honest with me. And if your intimate partner actively lies to you to go do something they know that would hurt your feelings, that's emotional abuse, right? Because they're causing harm intentionally, emotional harm, right? And that's also part of the awakening, where, gosh, there's so much, you have that crazy Epstein files thing, and you have more and more powerful men who are being kind of shone on for either sexual abuse, and this is where we can see the dominoes of the patriarchal structure starting to crumble. Is that more and more people are going, actually, this person is not a nice person, and this person did this, this, and this. And for whatever reason, there's a tide shifting where people are finally seeing, unless they don't want to see, because a lot of people want to stay anchored in it, or they think they're in close proximity to power, and so they'll kind of stay quiet. Pardon me. But I think of it as pulling on a thread, right? If we're all in our little individual worlds pulling on threads and seeing how manipulation works, and seeing how it feels in the body, and seeing how via love we can actually deny our intuition, we think like, oh no, but I love this person or I really care. And so, no, they wouldn't do that. Or, but your body's telling you the truth, right? So, really, I want to send a lot of power and love to people who are going through that and wish us all well on our journey. As far as, being able to break free from abuses and empower ourselves and trust in the divine, trust in the miraculousness, trust in our own pure intent, trust in our ability to create the life we want to create. Because some people might kind of step in and try to kind of take our energy so that we're not able to create what we want to create. And they might say they support you, but energetically they do not. Energetically, they just want to siphon your energy and take as much as is possible from your light, you know? So thank you. Thank you guys for being here and listening to me. I might go live a bit to kind of work through I have my friend Roots, and both of us we got to know each other via our YouTube channels. And both of us agree, like, part of the reason we started sharing on YouTube was to like share, was to kind of express things that were going on within, going like, does anybody else feel this way? Does anybody else kind of feel this way about the world? And um yeah, I can't get over the shadow and how my shadow work, endeavoring it intuitively, I call it emotional triggers, waves, and storms, to actually process your triggers and then see more of the deeply rooted stuff. My own triggers really went right back to healing a lot of my family system stuff, and then having some shifts last year where I had a psychic reading where somebody said, like, all your ancestors are here kind of applauding you. And I could really feel that as far as transforming ancestral trauma of poverty, of um yeah, enslavement, like all that stuff, and increasingly on my journey feeling more free, feeling more like safe in the bubble that this life has allowed me to create. um should we do a reading for you guys? Here again, check out my Patreon community. My Patreon community, I share weekly exclusive updates, usually on this Monday morning, or I don't want to walk away because that's my brother. I'm not supposed to abandon him or cut him off, Yeah, I understand. It's really, really difficult. And yet, if you think of the infinity, if you think of living in eternity, and like, straight up, okay, knowing that you have like a genuine love for humanity, it's like loving yourself and respecting yourself enough to at least like have distance, or the classic expression of going no contact. Sometimes we have to find the strength and the power to love ourselves more than that dynamic, and to love ourselves enough um to let people go when they're not good for us, and to not make it about the other person, but to go like, for my safety, for my heart, for my growth, um I need to release you. I need to not have you in my environment. I need to, and truly to have the power to go, I don't care what anyone thinks, because I don't have a lot of people in my circle. They do. They know loads and loads of people, and I can't control what people are going to think, what people are going to say. Never been able to. So it's like, why bother trying? Like, I know, in truth, I know how I've been treated. I know. So it's like, having the power to go no contact, but still love them. Um, Clearly I'm having some emotion come up. Like, still have love and pray. Pray for their liberation, pray whatever, or not. You know, you don't have to force that, but like, know in your heart you still have love and compassion, and have there's an Aquarian sutra says, understand through compassion or you misunderstand the times. Where it kind of falters, right, is that recognition of knowing the difference of somebody who cannot extend that compassion to you, who cannot reciprocate empathic understanding for your emotional well-being. And because I do have enough solid relationships who reciprocate, it's like I know the difference. Because for many years I was on my own, and or I kept falling into these. I just wanted to do good, and so I kept falling, and I was often very poor and vulnerable. So I'd often end up in these situations with people saying they could help, or saying that I was useful to them, but then it would start to like get murky and weird, and then I'd often be I've had people try to destroy my career. I've had plenty, and certain person tried to destroy my career. Just also got involved in my previous relationship, and um, basically destroyed that as well. And then, but they didn't destroy my career. They tried, um, but that was a huge turning point in my deeper shadow work, in relinquishing some addictions and being able to survive in the world, doing something in my integrity and something that I love. Which is teaching yoga meditation. And then as I've carried on with this brand, it's just been a wild ride of having a deeper understanding of power, control, manipulation, and how that works in our more intimate kind of communities, right? Because you could say, oh, it's black versus white, or it's men versus women, but it's really control versus enslavement. There's a class structure that is very, very anchored, right? And it connects to our survival here, it connects to our ability to survive and or live well. So if you can keep everybody fighting against each other and keep people in their kind of little groups that are better or worse or da, then nobody mobilizes. Then people aren't able to actually transform this system, right? Because a lot of these power players or abusers, it's via systemic, um yeah, it's via the system that they have their power. So why would they want to look at that, especially when they can do whatever they want? So I don't know, it's one of those where I can keep sharing. I appreciate when you reflect that you're resonating. Hope everyone's doing well. Hey, Tiffany. Feel free to, thanks for the likes, you guys, and feel free to share and subscribe to my channel. Hi, Fire Dragon. Hi, Millie. Hello, Millie. Hello, 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 hello. If you can't stay, no worries. I'll catch you on the replay. Yeah. I'm grateful for this platform. I've met amazing friends here. My friend Scott Zetzela and Roots and John Binney. I joined John. Go check out John. I don't know. I think it's just John Binney anymore, but like it's a psychic John Binney. John and then Binney, Binnie. He does live shares Monday and Thursday with a woman named Viviane Heller. And hey, thanks. Thanks, you guys. Viviana Heller, they do these live shares. It's such a beautiful community. So go check out John. Obviously, you guys would be welcome to join my Patreon. And being here this morning is just, and it's weird, right? Because for these last few years, my energy, it's like I've had less and less energy to do what I love. And that's also part of the cord that I've had attached to this person who I love so dearly, right? And yet now that I've seen the behavioral pattern, which is emotionally abusive and toxic, it's like, oh my God, there it is. That's why I don't feel safe. And now I feel like I can break free, right? But of course, it's difficult because what you're releasing is a fantasy, but you believed in it. You're releasing a potential that you believed in, but that's not real. It's the pattern, right? And then seeing it, it's like, oh my God. And now, like emotionally, I'm just not, I can feel the closing of the cord kind of thing. I can see the kind of closing of that energy that kept me believing or hoping, right? So um and then 2 days on, I'm like, I have way more energy. I feel more myself. Um I feel renewed with the work I do. Like randomly when I was in the dynamic, back in the dynamic with this person, and this is again not even something they're obviously doing. It's just the energetic exchange. I started to feel really bad about myself, really like fat and ugly, and like I'm not valuable, like my work is like what's the point? Like yeah, I start to feel really really depressed. And now I know, now I can see why. And like so much is actually like the energetics. It's the fact that deep down these people don't dig on themselves very much. Hence why they need constant kind of reflections of the illusion of power they've created, or the illusion of and because I'm in the world of spirituality, right? And healing and shadow work, they of course they talk the talk. Like it's they talk a good talk about all this stuff. They just don't actually take responsibility for them, for their beingness, because they're not actually creating anything. They're just keeping a certain paradigm in place. So for me, my one of my inception points for my spiritual awakening was paradigm shift. Like we can focus on all these different systems, or we could focus on like these like small layers of levels of corruptions, but actually we need a divine paradigm shift within enough humans and divine benevolence to support us in creating new structures. And this is that Neptunian signature with Saturn that's incepting the birth point of new paradigm communities, right? Where more and more of us are going to be miraculously granted the resources to create the vision that we hold within us, and to naturally have all the people lining up with us. What up, Scott Setzela? Welcome, Scott Setzela, to the chat. I've literally just mentioned, did you psychically hear me call your name? And I was just talking about you and Maz and John Binney and the wonderful people I've met on the internet who have supported, who have showed up, who have been there in some of the darkest, most painful times, right? And you don't forget those people. Interestingly, you don't forget your abusers either. you don't you don't tend to forget the people who used and abused you until you were able to break free. But of course, you want to really focus on the good energy that come into your life to genuinely support you on your path. Why? Because it helps you discern the difference, right? Like when people are treating you respectfully and equanimously versus people saying all the right things, but you're feeling really, really wiped out. It's like, what the F is going on? You're like, oh, they're a liar, or oh, they don't actually care about your feelings at all. So it's just fucking fascinating and awesome. It's been a powerful last 20 minutes. What? Hala, 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 what? Hala, hala. Isn't it weird? Like the human ego. And the last few years have been incredibly humbling for me. And self-reflection is an amazing tool to be able to self-reflect and be like, whoa, I had to work through all that karma and I had to really humble myself and to see our own delusions of grandeur, and to see and to observe projection at play, and how it feels when people are projecting their shadow onto you, and like why in certain what part of us, what lack part of us will attract people that will project their shadow, um to try to keep us base, to try to keep us down, to try to keep us and like it's such a real thing as far as like observing, like having enough detachment to observe and clarity. And people talk about like masks slipping, and like seeing the mask slip as well. So seeing and feeling more of what they really think and feel about you versus what they say when they want something from you. And it's everywhere. We're all in it. Like it's everywhere, these subtle dynamics. Hence the power. Get to know yourself. Meditate, play, create, be bold, do the things you're scared to do. And distance yourself from people that make you feel like shit, unless they're not doing that intentionally. You're just getting triggered to like work through things. And then, usually with well-intentioned people, you can find balance. You can find a new type of balance within dynamics when it's appropriate, when it's healthier, when people aren't using you for their own gain or for their own ego, right? Very different feeling, very different energy. Okie doke. So I appreciate that, Justin. And I wish you well. I wish you love and freedom. And I mean, the truth is like, I wish the world, I wish all of humans like love and freedom, because love is so beautiful and we live on such a beautiful planet. Hence where all the destruction and the power grabs and the stealing and the violence, like, I think when you're a deeply sensitive soul, part of that pain of this humanity is like, how do people do it? Like, how do people just kill other people? How do they not feel it? Because a lot of us can just see the brutality and or violence and are like, oh God, stop. We have more than enough resources for us all. We have uh it's so true. The truth sets us free. I'm thinking of like, thine is the kingdom. The kingdom is within us all. And it's such a gift to live here on this beautiful planet. So like to live in reverence of that, and to know that even people that do us harm, like to pray that the people doing harm will find their way, but to also empower people to stand up. And I'm not a proponent of violence at all, but to give good people the fight, you know. It's like not a resistance, it's more of a like to give us the power to believe that good will conquer, that light will conquer, that truth will conquer. And not because like Neptune leaving Pisces is like the end of these delusions, the end of this psychological warfare, and yet we're still gonna be like watching more craziness unfold. So we have a responsibility to ourselves and to one another to stay steadfast in our ability to be a light. like, in this moment, I'm thinking, like, to be a light, if only to myself. Um, like, to believe in the love and the mission, and yeah, and to pray that people will find their way, and to just trust in people's own karma. And that's something too with people who deceive and project and stuff, is that they're kind of doing everything they can to avoid their own shadow. And like, we'll notice the deeper we go, everything will look really like spiritual or kind of on a surface, but nothing's moving. So, once somebody's got their needs met, if they're just hoarding more and taking on more and trying to get more and then wanting, but they're not actually creating and they're not actually kind of giving back, there's distortion, right? There's egoic distortion there. So, but I love that. Being completely honest to set me free. The truth has set us free, and that's obviously like a biblical quote. The truth shall set you free, my lovers. And I have to be mindful of the time. The truth shall set us free, and then thine is the kingdom, and to know thyself, right? Sometimes I could just cry and cry and cry, but it feels so good. Okay, I'm gonna do a reading for all y'all. Oh shoot, I'm suddenly like, is my session at 6 or 6:30? And I'm like, I'm gonna have to log in. Okay, let's do a quick read for you guys. Divine guidance, loving. Thank you for being here. When I come live and end up being emotional, I'm just grateful that you guys are nice enough to not troll me. That's part of why I stopped doing live shares, was it just trolls and people's being mean. Oh, that resonates, doesn't it? This is the end of a cycle. So a new beginning that we're pouring out. Oh, thanks. This is the end, right? This is the pouring out of a cup of love with an abusive power structure. So the emperor reversed. People that abuse their power, we are breaking free. The end of a cycle. I love these cards. The end of a cycle with the Fool card. Brand new beginning. Oh, shoot. Yeah, it is 6. I'm glad I checked. I thought it was 6:30. I gotta go. King of Pentacle. So we're moving ahead with strength, with power, with commitment to self, with enough resources, right? Move us forward, grounded, anchored, breaking free from cycles of abuse once and for all, because this is the Ten of Swords. This is dead, done, and over. And we're going to be jumping into new terrain, new beginnings. Some of you could have a shift in your career. Yeah, we're destroying these old dynamics, right? I think that's enough. We're going to leave it there, you guys. Thank you so much. To know thyself, indeed, we are held. Hala Shazam. Hey, Justin. I'll see you on Patreon. Hala, hala, hala. Thank you. There's a free trial as well. I think you can find the link in the description, but you can sign up for a free trial. And everybody gets everything. Top tier patrons get a little discount, and they get access to the Be the Change courses, just so you know. But feel free. Also, free 7-day free trial, but you can cancel anytime. Thank you. Have a blessed day ahead. It's 5:46 in the morning. I have my first online yoga session this morning at 6 a.m. I have clients in Abu Dhabi, Switzerland, Norway, the UK, Saudi Arabia. I have clients all over the world, really. So I have to work at really weird hours to meet them, but I'm grateful for them because they help me survive on this planet, and I get to be myself. That's the coolest thing too. I get to be myself with clients who appreciate the work I do, and I love them and can share my resources and love and spirituality with them, often sharing a different perspective of life, which they love and appreciate, and get them moving their bodies and connecting to their breath and just loving them through this process. So I'm so grateful for that work. Do you happen to do classes on tarot? No, but people have asked me that before, and I might look into it. Oh, hey, Kurt Mill, you're part of the reason I'm here, my lover. But I am having to sign off because I've got a session 10 minutes. But Kurt, here's looking at you, my friend. It's been a vulnerable share, classic MJ. Wishing you all the best, you guys. Have a glorious evening. Have a glorious night. I am so thankful for you. And Tiffin, you can check out my online courses. Spirituality Simplified is like my course on spirituality. All four of them can be useful for consumption and all that stuff. But of course, if you want to join the Patreon community, if that's something that aligns with you, then you can also suss the courses there as well. And again, you can grab the courses and then cancel at any time. So it's like an ethical bribe where it's like there's no commitment, but you can join us there. My good friend Scott is part of my Patreon community as well, and Jumpini, and a few of you. Anyway, have a wonderful evening. Have a wonderful afternoon. Have a wonderful morning, wherever you are in the world. I wish you peace and blessings. Have a great day, you guys. Peace out.